I come here to bring you greetings on behalf of the family of Moral Monday in North Carolina. All over North Carolina today, we have Georgia on our mind. We are inspired, Tim and Reverend Dr. Johnson, by the Moral Monday movement beginning here today. And I come here to bring with me the voices of the 70-year-old NAACP in North Carolina, the Forward Together Moral Monday movement, the HKOJ coalition that represents 100 branches in the NAACP, 160 coalition partners, and I bring a special word from your homegirl, Carolyn Q. Coleman.
Say so.
And we come here today to say to you, build a movement. It's time for a new Southern strategy that replaces the old one. The old one that divides people by fear. The old one that divides people by race and extremist propaganda. We need a new movement. Not the old one that has created the solid South.
Come on now.
That is solid against progress and solid against moving forward. We need, and we are in the middle of a third Reconstruction in America, and we need a new movement. Not an old movement that is solid in the pockets of forces like American Prosperity and the American Legislative Exchange Council and wealthy extremists that use fear and division to get many Southerners to vote their fears and not their future, and then use the political power given to their candidates to write policies that hurt all of us. We need a new movement. We must declare here in North Georgia and in North Carolina and all across the South that the old Southern strategy shall be challenged, and we are the ones that will challenge it. It's time for a new movement now, a new Southern strategy rooted in transformative, agenda-based, state-led fusion coalition politics. We must, in Georgia and in North Carolina and in America, come together, black and white and Hispanic and young and old and LGBT and straight and rich and poor and Republican and Democrat, to fight against the dangerous agendas of extremism. Somebody has to tell it like it is. It's extreme and immoral when politicians work to make it impossible for citizens to vote. It's extreme and immoral to cut Medicaid for more than 600,000 people, many of them children, especially in the South that is ravaged by poverty. It is extreme to raise taxes on poor working people to give tax breaks to the wealthy. It is extreme and immoral to resegregate our schools and defund public education and increase disparities in the criminal justice system. Somebody has to tell the truth. We are called to a deeply moral and constitutional vision of society. This vision of society demands that the focus of public policy be justice for all and care for the common good. In other words, it is an imperative that we begin to look at these extreme policies through the lens of morality and our Constitution, because we are fighting for the type of democracy that places the common good at the center of public policy. Somebody say the time is now.
The time is now.
And the time is now that we must challenge the greatest myth of extremism, and that is the notion that you can hurt a small subset of people without hurting everybody. The truth is, these policies harm us all. The truth is, wealthy extremists subtly playing on the fears of working class white people. The truth is, ultra-conservative politicians and their donors adopt a divide and conquer strategy, causing many people to vote against their own interests. And our job right now, right here in the South, is to unpack the truth about these extreme policies and how they hurt everybody. So I came to say, build a movement. Touch your neighbor and say, build a movement. A movement that is rooted in the values of the old movements, but exegeted for this contemporary moment. There is a longing in America for the recovery of our deepest moral and constitutional values in public policy. policies people know that hurt the poor, children, women, the sick, and voting rights, those policies are constitutionally inconsistent, morally indefensible, and economically insane. There is a longing for new logistics in the movement. Movements that are built from the bottom up, locally led by indigenous leadership, Dr. Johnson and Tim and all of you who are here, rooted in a transformative coalition that is anti-racist, anti-poverty, pro-justice, state-based, deeply moral, deeply constitutional. But the truth of the matter, if you want to change this nation, you've got to think states, and you've got to think southern states. And so we need state movements that have national implications. It's the only way forward. Not only is there a longing for the recovery and a longing for new logistics, there's the longing for a new language. We've got to break through this puny and limited language of Republican versus Democrat, liberal versus conservative. Our language must be rooted in what's just, what is moral, what is right, what is best for the common good, and promotes the general welfare. This kind of language can bring people together regardless of their race, their color, their creed, their party, their income, or their sexuality. What we are seeing now in America and in the South is, in this movement, is a kind of social physics. It's the kind of social response that always happens when extremism goes too far. There's always an equal and opposite reaction. Most Americans, most Georgians, we don't have to be fearful, we can be hopeful, friends. Most Americans, most Georgians, most North Carolinians believe something is deeply wrong with kicking people when they're down. Most people believe there's something wrong with promoting unfairness and rigging elections and politicians getting health care and then not wanting their constituents to have health care. There's something wrong with that. You all know like I know. I had an atheist that came to the Mall Monday. Now she calls me her sister in God. She said when she came to first Mall Monday, she was mad because she was used to the extreme far-right rendition of the gospel. Come on. She found out she wasn't mad with God, she was mad with their projection. That's right. Extremists and the so-called religious right have attempted to diminish moral discussion and critique in the public square to prayer in the school, abortion, and homosexuality. I stopped by to say that this attempt at narrowing the public discussion is nothing more but pharisaical hypocrisy. And it is potentially not only hypocrisy, but heretical. And it is harmful and a misuse of the deepest values of our faith. The deepest values of our faith have to do with how do we treat the poor, how do we treat the vulnerable, how do we treat the sick, how do we treat children, and how do we treat the least of these. And these matters cannot be assigned to private charity, and we not deal with public systems. They must be at the center of public policy. And when you look at it like this, budgets are moral doctrine. Education is a moral issue. Healthcare is a moral issue. Voting is a moral issue. Equal protection is a moral issue. So we say, Dr. Francis, to the extreme right that has always wanted to have a bifurcated moral discussion, if you really want to have a moral discussion, bring it on, baby, because we're ready. Georgia, let's talk about Medicaid. Ranks among the bottom of all states when it comes to health coverage. Nearly 2 million Georgians lack health coverage. 20% of the population. 25% between 18 and 24. People will die, according to the New England Study for Medicine. For every 500,000 people denied, nearly 2,800 people will die. That's why even Republican governors have said yes to Medicaid expansion. Come on now. Governor Kasich in Ohio said he had an epiphany one day. The Lord got a hold to him. And he said of his own party that they were engaging in a war on the poor. Lord, help us here. This past week, not too long ago, I was at the YMCA and a man came up to me and said, I'm a Republican. But I want you to know I support Moral Monday movement and medication expansion. He said, I didn't always understand, but I've been sick lately. I had heart problems and other things. And he said, I voted for Governor McCory as a Republican, but it won't happen again. Because something's wrong with him when you start hurting people when they're down. You don't throw people, this man said, under the bus. You don't use power to hurt people. Was it not the ancient Jewish prophet that said in Isaiah chapter 10, woe unto those that legislate evil, that write laws, that rob the poor of their rights? Was it not Jesus who went everywhere setting up free health clinics? Was he not a healer? Did he not say, when I was hungry, did you feed me? When I was sick, did you visit me? And he wasn't talking about personal charity. He was talking to the nation and how the nations would be divided. Did not Dr. King from Georgia say the denial of health care is the most inhumane of all? And I took time to read y'all's preamble. Since this governor and legislator put their hand on the Bible and they swore to uphold the Constitution, your own Constitution says that this government, this Constitution is written to perpetuate the principles of free government, to ensure justice to all, to preserve peace and promote the interest and the happiness of the citizens of this family. So anytime you pass policy that hurts citizens, that hurt families, that hurt of justice, you are operating in direct contradiction to your own Constitution. So Moral Monday, Georgia, it's time for you to go tell our story and let it echo far and wide. Make them hear you. I just came by to say we're with you. We can't lead it. You got to lead it. Make them hear you, Dr. Johnson. Make them hear you, Tim. Make them hear you. Make them hear how justice was our battle and how justice was denied. Make them hear you. Make them hear you. And say to those who blame us, the hymn that said, for the way we choose to fight, that sometimes these battles are more than black and white. Somebody say, make them hear you. Tell Governor Deal and this legislature, don't make a deal with injustice. Do what is right. Don't make a deal and cause people to die. Do what is right. Don't make a deal with extremists and get on their right side but end up on God's wrong side. Don't offend the values of our Constitution. Don't make a deal and lead this state backwards. Don't make a deal and deny the values of common humanity. Don't make a deal, but let us say to every governor, North Carolina, Georgia, anywhere in every legislature, don't you know that if you would help somebody, your living wouldn't be in vain? Don't you know that if you would help somebody, your governorship will not be in vain? Don't you know if you help somebody, your political tenure will not be in vain? So we're going to help deal to make the right deal. Lord have mercy. You help him in Georgia, and we're going to help Governor McCory in North Carolina. Let us use the power of moral vision to show Georgians there is a better way. Let Georgia know, let America know there is an army rising. My God, of non-violent warriors rising that can break every chain of apathy, every chain of indifference, every chain of social depression. So let it be known far and wide that no matter what meanness does, no matter what this governor does, we in the Moral Monday movement will not stop. We know there's a better way. There's higher ground. Somebody say higher ground. Higher than the lowlands of hate and harm and hurt. We can heal our sick. We can educate our children. We can make democracy real for everybody. We can shine a light on darkness. We can organize across Georgia. We can mobilize. We can preach. We can register to vote. We can tell the truth. We can rally the moral truth. I believe Moral Monday is a kind of immaculate conception that was born for such a time as this. And you need to tell Deal and everybody, your actions or inactions will not discourage us. The more you push us back, the more we'll go forward. The more you try to stop us, the more we'll dig down in our souls. The more we'll stand firmer. The more we'll work harder. The more we'll pray stronger. The more we'll speak louder, the more we'll vote greater, because we know there is higher ground. Lord, plant our feet on higher ground, because we know our politics can be moral. Our politics can be merciful. Our politics can be kind and caring and loving and just and fair and equal. We refuse to believe the lie of domination and the falsehood of mean-spiritedness. And so we're going to press our way. Are y'all going to press your way in Georgia? Tell your neighbor, we're going to press our way to higher ground in Georgia. We're going to press our way to higher ground in North Carolina. When we started Moral Monday, 17 of us went to jail. By the time the season was over, 941 had gone to jail. When we started, the governor was at 50% in the polls. Now he's under 30% in the polls. When we started, the legislature was at 40% in the polls. Now they're under 19% in the polls. Thousands have come, and they ain't seen nothing because Georgia's in now. Lord have mercy, Georgia is in. Somebody say Georgia is in the game now. And in North Carolina and Georgia, we are better than extremism. In America, we are better than extremism. In this world, we are better than extremism. Yes, we are. And because we will never stop moving forward, let us walk in the anthem and the rhythm of a determined, moral, and just people that declares but lifts it for this season what they sung a long time ago. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. All in the governor's office, all in the General Assembly, all in the mountains, all in the coast, all in the suites of power, all in the courthouse, all over North Carolina, all over Georgia, all over America. We're gonna let it shine. 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 Until a change comes.